the consumer appreciates when there is something that is localized or customized to their taste.
Yeah.
And it resonates with them more than seeing a generic advertisement. It's difficult to know a culture if you're not from it,
Yeah.
and especially if it's not that much advertised. I had a graphic designer from the Philippines, and I asked him to design an artwork using an Emirati family for one of the advertisements. When he showed me the draft, it was not an Emirati family. It was a Saudi family, because he was wearing the ghitra, or the shmaq, sorry, they call it, the red color one. In UAE, we don't wear the red one, we wear the white one. And I told him, like, that's not an Emirati family. He's like, but he couldn't he couldn't realize the difference.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Dollar Diaries podcast. Today, we are here with an amazing guest. His name is Mohamed Yousuf. He's the managing director for marketing and operations at Yousuf Computers. Before we get started, huge thank you to Horizontal for giving us this lovely venue to shoot at. Hi, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Hello, hi. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
How has your trip been to this place?
It's really good. I love the place. It's very nice.
I wish we can take credit for it, but it was somebody else's.
It was Sham, one of our guests, one of our.
We had him on the podcast. So what happens is we used to shoot in Utah.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Emirates Towers. And what happened is suddenly they had like a new process to get approvals before we shoot and things. And we didn't get the approval in time. So we were shooting out of a coffee shop for a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
And during that time, Shyam was there and he was like, hey, I did the interior design for this place.
You could ask
hook
them.
you up.
Yeah.
And like he hooked us up, and mashallah, very beautiful place.
It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Very nice design, laid back.
Yeah.
Love the
for sure.
colors.
I think the colors, they've done quite a good job. Like it's colorful yet somber at the same time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for all of us, just give us a small introduction of who you are, what you do, and a little bit about yourself that commonly people won't generally know about you.
Sure. My name is Mohamed Al Yousuf. I'm an Emirati from Dubai, father of two. I studied civil engineering in Arizona State University in the United States. And then I started working in Al Yousuf group of companies. I started in marketing, but currently I'm overlooking marketing and operation for the division of Al Yousuf Computer and Telecommunication. I think that's me in a nutshell.
All right. And is there anything you'd like to tell about yourself that the common people wouldn't know, just generally people wouldn't know? One small fact about yourself.
Yeah.
I don't think there's something that people don't know about me, but I would say I love classic movies.
Okay.
Hollywood classic movies, specifically 1960s movies.
Okay.
And I love Arabic calligraphy.
Okay.
I'm not really good at it, but I try my best.
Okay.
Why the 1960s movie? Is there any reason? Any favorite movies?
Scarface. Is that 1960s? Scarface?
No, I don't think that's. I think it's later.
Later.
I'm not sure. I think it's later, but I would say the 60s is. I love the way they have the movies written out, and the plot, and the decor and everything. It's also about the time, if I'm not mistaken, when they started moving from black and white to colored.
Okay.
So it's also nice to see that transition. Favorite movie is very hard to choose one, but I would say Sabrina, Audrey Hepburn, and Humphrey Bogart.
Okay. I wish I saw any of those.
Yeah.
I think like my favorite, like if I'm going older, I think mine starts from like 1990s at best.
Okay.
Because I was born in 2000, so 10 years before is what I can relate to. Like I can't I've seen like the Charlie Chaplin movies and all these things.
Right.
And it's very unrelatable in the sense that it feels like a different environment, different locale and everything. And coming from India, I couldn't imagine how that era of movies and how that would translate into this thing. So I think that's why my
Yeah.
taste preferably.
Have you seen The
from-
Godfather? 1976, I think.
No, I actually
You
haven't
should,
seen the
yeah,
Godfather
yeah.
trilogy. Like
You
I've
should.
heard it's really
You
good,
should, yeah.
and I've never got into it. There's a lot of movies out there, so it's very hard.
There are,
Yeah.
and you'd be surprised. I mean, the way people deal with things and the way they speak
Mm.
is so different from one era to the other. So, I mean, not everybody loves classic movies, and I mean, some of the '90s movies are really nice. The 2000 movies are also very nice.
I think even the messaging also, like kind of, like the olden movies, especially in Indian cinema, typically, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't watch a lot of Hindi movies and things.
I don't either.
Yeah. But what I've noticed is like a very common plot thread: guy meets girl. That's the
Right.
story in a lot of cases. But if you see Hollywood films, they used to have like some subliminal messages about this or that and everything.
You just haven't watched the right movies.
Maybe, perhaps. And what comes to it is that there are certain eras of movies. So you see from older movies where everybody was all hip hop and hippie and everything. But like you come into the 1990s, you have like a more like a very social, like movies with a little bit of social commentary in
Right.
it. And then you enter 2000s era and you have movies like Fight Club and things where it's really just about the message takes a more center space. So I think with more as it comes over and over, the messaging takes more precedent over than the
Sure.
plot, and that's why the new movie out there is kind of right, like it's a
I agree. I think now they're more focusing on entertaining the audience more than conveying a message.
correct, and
Yeah.
they kind of lose the plot thread of it, right? Like the plot comes second to the message,
Mhm.
which kind of or it's just heavy CGI Marvel movie,
True.
which I'm very big fan of, but it kind of gets boring at sometimes.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Since you like classic movies, I'm assuming you like classic cars as well.
No, not
so
that
much.
much.
Not so much. Okay, fine.
The reason is I love to be comfortable.
Okay.
Classic cars are not that comfortable.
Okay.
I mean, shape-wise,
Yeah.
design-wise, they're amazing.
Amazing. Yeah.
But the interior is not as
that
comfortable
great.
as
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cars we
yeah.
have now.
100%. 100%.
What car do you drive? If
If you don't mind.
I have a Porsche Cayenne.
yeah, obviously compared to a Porsche Cayenne, everything's
Yeah.
not as
Yeah.
you went to Arizona to do civil engineering, but currently, and not as soon as you came from Arizona and till now, you're doing marketing and now operations. What
Yeah.
was the shift like? Why did you enter into civil engineering in the beginning, and why did you not
Pivot.
pursue it?
Yeah.
Initially, when I graduated from high school, I wanted to get into the field of construction and design because to me it was really fascinating. So I decided to go into civil engineering because it deals with so many different things related to construction. Civil engineering doesn't only deal with the structure of the building, it has more than that. It deals with the foundation, with the wastewater management, with the water systems, transportation, and so on. So it sounded really interesting, and I really enjoyed studying civil engineering. When I came back, Al Yousuf is a family business, so I started working with them, and unfortunately, they don't have a civil engineering related department. So at that time, there was no marketing department. And I thought it's really important to have one. So I volunteered to start their marketing department. I mean, it shouldn't be called a department if you're just one person at the time.
Yeah.
And that's how it started until I would say 2019, when we decentralized the marketing department and I started focusing on a specific division in the company.
When it comes to traditional family businesses, right? What do you think was the reason why they didn't have a marketing department to begin with? Because now in this era where everything's about marketing, right? You talk about yourself, it's personal marketing, personal branding.
Yes.
Talk about a company, it's marketing and sales and lead generation. There's such a heavy pressure on marketing, emphasis on marketing, right? But traditional businesses don't necessarily see that. Why do you think that is?
I think things were different in the world of business back then. Um, Word of mouth was very important, and having trust in the company and the people you deal with was also very important. So they didn't really see the benefit of marketing and advertising. And it was especially here, if we talk about the UAE, it's a very small market. Everybody knows each other. Everybody knows where to get what. Now, mashallah, that situation has changed, and so many options, so many different companies. So I think my generation and the younger ones started to see the benefit of marketing. Plus, marketing has evolved as well. So you started getting more like internet or digital marketing, social media, and so on. But back then, it was just newspapers and radio, maybe. Plus, I'd say maybe family business is more conservative than any kind of business. They try to be careful with their spending, and if they don't see an immediate return on investment, they wouldn't go in that direction. So it took a while actually to convince them to start spending more on marketing. But eventually, when they saw, the results, they got on board.
All right. And how hard was it for you to convince everybody that, hey, marketing is something we should probably do?
It was very hard. Especially like if you're working with family members, your father, your uncle, and they still think of you as the young boy.
Yeah.
So to convince them, I tried to go in a different approach, that to start doing marketing that doesn't require much spending or doesn't require spending at all. So after a while, after they saw the results, and with a lot of nagging as well, they started to allocate budget to marketing.
Yeah.
How does, just because you were in that situation, right?
Sure.
How does one go about marketing if they have little to no budget for it, right? What was your strategy when you?
Because we were trying to implement it ourselves.
Trying to implement it. Not just that, like the other reason is that, especially the Al Yousuf group, right? Huge lines of products and everything.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's not Al Yousuf group's product, right? Like if you're having MG cars or anything, it's MG still has a marketing department back in their campus, right? So how does Al Yousuf Group's marketing, or how do you supplement their marketing, and how do you justify supplementing their marketing when they already have a dedicated team for it?
Well, that was back in 2010. So marketing wasn't as evolved as it is right now. And I started with only one division. I didn't start with everything that Al Yousuf has to offer. So I started with only Yamaha.
The bikes.
The jet skis. They don't call them jet skis, they call them wave runners.
Okay.
Because isn't jet ski like another company's trademark?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
But some people don't know the term wave runners or water vehicles.
Yeah.
So we always have to make that
It's
disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
It's like Kleenex or Pampers.
Exactly.
It's just a brand
Yes,
association.
I think jet ski is a Kawasaki, if I'm not wrong. I think it's a Kawasaki product. But anyways, I mean, we are the authorized distributor of Yamaha product, the full lineup. So you have the ATVs, the bikes, the wave runners, golf cars, generators, etc. So I started focusing on only that brand, and it was a little bit easy to say. There was nothing related to marketing at that point. So I created the Facebook, the Instagram page, website, and then we tried to leverage on the word of mouth. So customers coming into the showroom, purchasing our products, we would mention that we have so and so social media, please try to follow us, or try to encourage them, like if you'd follow, you get a discount, things like that. Then we started spending a small amount of money on digital marketing, PR, radio, advertisement, and so on. I would advise an SME or a startup that wants to market themselves without spending much is to implement what I call is to become the influencer. So you follow people on social media. Why do you follow them?
Some value.
They're convincing.
Convincing, entertaining, they add something to your daily life. So the same way, I would say, if a company wants to be effective on social media, is to present an added value. It would be very boring just to post about a bike day in, day out. Most of Yamaha fans already know about these products. They don't want, or they don't need to follow you to know about the product, unless it's a launch, of course. So try to become the influencer by talking about things related to your product, but not exactly. For example, if you start talking about fun places to visit during the weekend, or nice rest areas or spots to park your bike and have like a nice scenic view and so on, that's an indirect way of having people follow you to get more insight. At the same time, you are talking about your product, creating that ambience and lifestyle.
Since 2009-10 till to now 2024, how do you think the marketing landscape has changed? And just run us through the timeline, right? Where do you think the pivotal moments happened where things went upside down that you had to change, and what it is like now?
Yeah. It's really difficult to pinpoint a specific time for me, but I would say when people started to believe in the digital marketing. In 2010, not many people did digital marketing. They still focused on the traditional printed media, radio stations, and all that stuff. When people started focusing on social media, and I think that's when also, TikTok came along and Reels started to emerge and people got more engaged in social media, that's when marketing picked up. And I would say the second thing that changed marketing in UAE is when people started to localize content. So I remember back then, most of the advertisement, and I'm talking about the Arabic advertisement, let's say normal day products like soft drinks, detergents, and so on, they used to do the advertisement in the Saudi dialect,
Okay.
not the Emirati one. And then when I was watching TV or listening to these advertisements, I would say like, okay, I know the UAE market is not that big compared to KSA, but why don't they localize the content? It's only when they started realizing the need for that, I felt people really focused on marketing. They created content that is really tailored to the country, not only to the region. I love Kuwaiti marketing agencies because they create content that is so Kuwaiti. Like when you watch the episode, not episode, sorry, the advertisement or the artwork. When you see the artwork, it's so Kuwaiti. It's so tailored to their demographic. It has a special flavor, and I'm seeing a little bit of that here, but we're not up to that level.
So you're saying the relatability of it improves the marketing by a standard.
Definitely. Yeah.
I've also like, it's such an interesting thing how we don't talk about a lot of the things, a lot of the traditions you guys have. We just look at, like you said, we just look at the extravagance that it provides, that Dubai provides, and that's what sort of attracts a lot of the expats. But our generation, the youth, would love to learn the history and the culture behind Dubai as well.
And I think it's not just Dubai, right? Like at least with Dubai, you get skyscrapers. But if you check some other places in Middle East, you get like, Bedouins and desert sort of pictures.
True.
All these things. But
those are beautiful,
beautiful cities, beautiful cultures. But when you Google search, when a foreigner, when somebody living abroad searches up, they're like, this is it. This is the country.
Yeah, and they would like, oh my God, Dubai's like this. I would never.
Dubai's like this golden sand sort of a...
True. Yeah. I've seen a couple of initiatives from the young generation, Emirati young generation, trying to promote the culture of the UAE, which is an excellent thing to do. So I think it's a little bit changing, but the predominant thing that you see is the international luxury kind of
The
thing,
glitz and the
Yeah.
glam of
the glamorous aspect, and that also reflects in marketing. It's difficult to know a culture if you're not from it,
Yeah.
and especially if it's not that much advertised. I noticed that when we started to build the marketing department, and I had a graphic designer from the Philippines, and I asked him to design an artwork using an Emirati family for one of the advertisements. When he showed me the draft, it was not an Emirati family. It was a Saudi family, because he was wearing the ghitra, or the shmaq, sorry, they call it, the red color one.
Mm.
In UAE, we don't wear the red one, we wear the white one. And I told him, like, that's not an Emirati family. He's like, but he couldn't find, he couldn't realize the difference. And that guy has been, at that point, been living in the UAE for a couple of years.
Mm.
So I realized it's not easy to understand the culture. Maybe if we have a better mix of different people, especially in the marketing team, then you can understand the different.
And I also feel like, especially if it's targeting, the UAE population or locals in general, you should probably have like a local to kind of guide it, right?
Exactly.
Because a very key important thing that I've recently went to Oman, right?
Yeah.
And I haven't, like, because we don't wear the what do you call it?
The ghitra, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you spell it? Ghitra.
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 Yeah.
I went to Oman. They have a different sort of a thing. Like, it's kind of like knotted with more
Yes.
colors and stuff.
Mhm.
So you see how, like, just crossing the border, everybody changes everything, right? So these are small things. Maybe if you travel across the place, you would know, but there is literally no other way. Like, if I'm not aware of UAE, Saudi, Oman, I just look at it, just a standard Arab family.
Mhm.
And that, I feel like people don't pay attention, especially large companies.
They don't understand the differentiation.
And I don't think, do you think it's like more to do with they don't care, or they can't be bothered to do the research, or what is the missing factor when it comes to that?
I think it's easier to
That's as simple.
generalize,
Yeah.
probably. And now with the the social media and the globalization, I see most of the countries, not only UAE, it's becoming like a uniform kind of thing, because we all watch the same movies,
Yeah.
we follow the same people, maybe. So slowly, the unique cultural aspect of each country or
Just
sector
fades away.
exactly, and it becomes a little bit difficult to find. People who look for it can find it. Like I said, there are more initiatives to educate people about the culture of the UAE, about the dress the people wear, the language, the food, but it's hard to find. If you walk in Dubai Mall, you see so many restaurants, but it's mostly like an international kind of thing. It's not a specific kind of food. I mean, where would you go if you want to eat Emirati food in Dubai?
No
There's no place.
I just like, it's just like, oh, this is Arabic, this is Chinese,
Right.
this is
Yeah.
Indian, finish. It's a
Yeah.
very blanket thing.
Yes.
And even I've come to places like where, there's a difference between Syrian restaurants and Lebanese restaurants.
Yeah. For
And
sure.
for me, it's hummus, finished.
Right.
And I think
Egyptian, Palestinian, Syrian. like,
and I think
there's
it's a
so
very
much differentiation.
there is so many different things, like the ingredients they use, the taste and everything. But
Yeah.
I don't. It's very hard for people to perceive it as such, right?
Mhm.
So in this sort of event, let's say you want to target that particular, you want to portray the image of this. What are some of the initiatives that the younger generation of Dubai are doing to promote that and show that this is a very different culture? We have a rich history and
Right.
everything.
See, the younger generation now, they are more invested into preserving the heritage and the culture of the UAE. So when it comes to the national celebrations and the holidays and special days, they really focus on them, trying to install that heritage in the much younger generation and to promote it. So activities, that's one of them. The second thing is even in the businesses, the projects. So now you would see more of the restaurants, shops, or even the online businesses focusing on Emirati,
Dialect.
not only the dialect, I mean the product itself. So that's also a good thing. And there are some initiatives that cater to tourists. So instead of just visiting the desert and going for a barbecue and safari and that's it, there are other tourist activities that they can visit the different historic sites, and people will talk to them about the history of the UAE, the unique culture of the UAE. You also see that being promoted in the special events that the UAE is doing, like the Expo, the COP28. There's much focus on the uniqueness of the culture of the UAE. So that's what I see it happening. And, UAE is fairly a young country.
Yep.
So everything is still being built. If we talk again back to movies, for example, there aren't many movie makers, directors, actors from the UAE. Now there is, but it's still a very small scene and it's being developed.
It's not going to compete with Hollywood anytime soon, right?
No.
It's, because I think about it like, 1971, where UAE got its independence, like where UAE was formed. And my dad was born in 97 and like 71. And like, I just think about, hey, UAE is just as old as my dad. And, that brings a lot into perspective.
Right.
And to build a country from all this, now it's a beautiful country. So it is certainly fast, but it's not going to be this thing, right? The more important thing is like, as from a country's perspective, right? Now, if you are responsible for marketing in the UAE, what are some things that you feel like are missing that you would do, and why that is?
I would say
before that,
sure.
Do you agree with the general international portrayal that UAE is just fancy cars, gold-plated cars, and tall buildings, or do you feel like that is not the best portrayal of it?
No, I don't think that's the best portrayal of the country. I wouldn't deny that we live comfortably, and it's something nice as well. I mean, it's nice to have fancy buildings and luxury cars and amazing restaurants and so on. But it's not what is the essence
core.
of the or the core of the country. There is much more to UAE than that. So I don't agree with it. How I would improve the scene or how to change things, I would say to focus more on Emratization. And I'm not using the term Emratization as hiring Emiratis in the workplace. I'm using it in the terms of marketing and branding.
Okay.
So we mentioned briefly before that how everything is becoming so uniform, exactly. That being said, the consumer appreciates when there is something that is localized or customized to their taste. And it resonates with them more than seeing a generic advertisement. So if we can focus more on Emiratizing content, because even people who live in the UAE, not only Emiratis, know the culture and love the culture and they understand it. So when they see something that is bringing back this nostalgic feeling or something that most of Emiratis or people living in the UAE know about it, like for example, chips Oman. If you are not from the UAE or you don't live in the UAE, probably you don't even know what chips Oman is.
Laban,
exactly.
I go to my grandparents and I'm like, can I have some Laban? They're like, what do you mean Laban? What's Laban? And it becomes part of your
it's part of that,
diction,
I was born in 2000, and since then, there are certain elements that you are a Dubai person, right? Like Chips Oman, Laban, QJ Stone. I remember that very fondly. There are so many small things that the general international population, they just think we're sitting in gold sofas all day, every day. Which is where I wanted to ask, when you went to Arizona, did people think that you have a very lavish lifestyle, and were they Did they see you in like as if like you're like the sheikh of everything? And
I feel like he must have kept it low key. I mean,
Well, it's very hard to keep looking.
really? Okay, I don't know.
Because when you look like in
Yeah.
Middle Eastern
Okay.
and you're in the United States,
Yeah,
the first thing they would ask you is like, where are you from?
yeah,
But you know, I because I studied there between 2005 2010.
okay.
Back then, it's sad to say, but you know, when people would ask me where are you from, I would
Yeah.
say United Arab Emirates, UAE, and they're like, where is that? I'm like, Dubai. Oh, Dubai. Okay. And then, you know, the unfortunate thing is that the next thing they would say, they go, oh, Las Vegas of the Middle East.
Okay, that's the
No,
worst
it's not.
description of Dubai. That's the worst description of Dubai, honestly.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
exactly, they would immediately think of the lavish lifestyle. But I tried to change that perspective. So in university, we had different activities. We had the International Student Association, and we did different functions throughout the year. So I tried to promote the culture of the UAE, not only the fancy lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I was successful in that aspect, but it was a very small group of people. It's very hard to, you know, educate so many people at the same time.
I still think like even when we go back to India with that, like let's say for example I lived in Sharjah, I tell them live in Sharjah or Ajman, they're like, where is that? Dubai.
Right.
Dubai.
They didn't even know Abu
yeah.
Dhabi.
That solves most of the trouble.
Yes.
Is the sad part.
It's a, I mean, I think that, why do you think that is, right? Like the UAE has recently gathered a lot of marketing and,
Yeah.
you know, there's a new image about UAE. This is the country. But Dubai has been a step ahead in that perspective, right?
Yeah.
What was that differentiating factor in terms of marketing and branding that brought Dubai, gave Dubai the head start?
I think it's just exactly what you said, because they started marketing and branding before any of the other Emirates. Now, Alhamdulillah, everybody knows Abu Dhabi, they know Sharjah,
Yeah.
they know...
Abu Dhabi is really famous now because of the Formula One tracks. And
Oh,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yes.
so many movies has been shot
Yeah.
in Abu Dhabi. So, I mean, UAE has been really successful in branding itself. So now, when you go and you travel abroad and you say, I'm from United Arab Emirates, UAE, and they know the
reasonably
country.
understand, yeah.
Exactly. But back then, it was only Dubai that started promoting itself as a tourist destination, as a wow factor in the middle of the desert. So people knew Dubai. But in 2005, the other Emirates didn't really do much in terms of branding.
I still think like some of the Emirates, they don't do much, right? Like
True.
places like Ras Al Khaimah where there's a lot of things to do. Places like Fujairah where it's beautiful. They don't do as much as marketing as this thing. I tell somebody I'm going to Fujairah, where is that?
Right.
It's.
But I feel
one of
like,
the-
in my perspective at least, it starts from the ground up. Like from our generation, like what I've seen the friends I've studied with do is they've promoted like the culture and poems of and they've sort of promoted. I'm not sure is collegianess is a term like
Yeah, you can use that.
my friend has he has like a like what's that called, like a journal,
Okay.
like a book journal which like promotes the collegianess of UAE, and also I have another friend who writes like poems of Ras Al Khaimah and stuff
Nice.
like that. So it starts from like our generation, and then it grows into like a tree, you know. It's like he said, it's like it's still young, and it's like a process, and we are in the process of growing into a large tree. Like,
It's also probably the generational divide
Yeah.
as well, right? Like your grandparents and parents probably had other priorities rather than marketing and branding, right?
Probably, yes.
Yeah.
And at the same time, because it was a new country, so they wanted to bring whatever glamorous, developed thing they see abroad into the country. Now, the younger generation, like you rightfully said, they are focusing more on localized things.
Yeah.
You see so many of the restaurants and coffee shops, for example, they're opening with their local flavor and taste. They're not just bringing a franchise.
Correct.
Because, alhamdulillah, now we already have so many of these international F&B concepts and retailers here. So now they're thinking, what if we create our own identity?
Coming next on the Dollar Diaries podcast.
Here's the tricky question, right? If that person can take a little extra time,
Right.
little extra effort, and come up with something so brilliant versus AI that can just do things on time, which one would you prefer? And
That's a tough question. Probably if I don't like the person, I'll saving time and doing a proper job is very important. So yeah, I mean, if the person can evolve and take on more responsibilities, probably they would still be important part of the team. But if their job, like I said, can be done by a robot or a software or something, then they don't have any added benefit. So there is nothing wrong about doing a traditional approach. It's like what we mentioned earlier about the traditional product marketing. You need to advertise a car or a bike, so you need to do the traditional approach as well if you're doing personal branding. So you need to have a social media page, you have to write, you have to speak, but every one of us has something unique about them, whether it's something from their background or expertise or skill that they can build on and integrate it with the classic normal approaches.